We tend to go about our lives without considering the evil thoughts, and the locus me put us into a state of warfare. These thoughts are the ammunition. We are asleep. We are walking through the battlefield, and gunfire is whizzing past our heads, and we want to stop and have a closer look at the bullet. Unfortunately, this is how we get hurt. We don't want to look at the bullet, in other words. We look at the bullets when we take into our heart a resentment, a hurt, or angry thought about another person. We could choose to not take into account a wrong suffered. We could be following Christ who didn't open his mouth when wrong things were said about him. We also take a closer look at the bullet when we dwell on someone's beauty and have lustful thoughts. We get a closer look at this bullet when we judge ourselves as hopeless cases. That entices us to quit running the race. Or we judge ourselves as virtuous and we quit the race because we are ahead. We should ignore these bullets and keep our own focus on Christ, the author and perfecter of our faith. Why can we ignore the bullets? We can ignore them because of this work of Jesus Christ on the cross. We came to destroy the works of the enemy. The cross is our weapon of peace. What we need to think about and ponder is his word, his commandments, his truth, and to call upon his holy name in prayer. Thank God we don't have to entertain, analyze, dissect, or interact with evil thoughts to overcome them. We can ignore them and focus on him. We can take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ by his grace. That's really a good summary. When I started the talk with it, talking about analysis and paralysis, it's because it teaches us to look at the bullet as it's hitting us and taking out our blessedness. It's an idea that becomes rooted and grows in us, and we just keep growing until it leads to our, despair and despondency and our inability to follow Jesus Christ. I guess I'm going to finish it up now. In conclusion, this is a very ongoing topic. There's a book that I read recently, Mother Siluana from Romania, and she talks a lot about these ideas and these things of how the sin can penetrate us. And there are other people too. We had a guest speaker at our church, Mother Abbess Siluana of Holy St. Macarius Monastery out in east of us. Anyway, she gave a really dynamic talk on this very idea. And the question that she posed to the group, which was something that really struck me and something you can ponder, is why would you bend your knee to Antichrist? Why would you bend your knee to sin? Why would you not raise up your heart to God? And in other words, why would you choose evil over good? And so there's no excuse for choosing evil. There's nothing you could ever say there's a reason why you did it, except that you did it. You did that evil act. You had those evil thoughts, and you're sorry. You're sorry, and you're going to try not to repeat those actions ever again. And you're going to fight, and you're never going to give up. Because that's the other side of it, is you can never, ever, ever give up. Never give up. The enemy has already lost. He is gone. He does not have any power over you unless you allow him to have power. So I'm hoping that this topic, although not in the Lenten season for any of you or us, but just to say that it's a topic that never can grow old in us because we are constantly fighting sin. That I hope it gives you some thoughts about how you yourselves can come to the fullness of truth and remain in the fullness of truth with Jesus Christ. That's it. Thank you. I'm here for any questions. Anybody who has a question, go ahead.
Father John, can you summarize the point where the thought is offered to you to the point where you are enslaved to what the thought produces? Can you summarize that from your talk?
Well, I think that's a good question, and I think that it's easy to think about the fact that everybody here has thoughts. Even right now, you're thinking, I wish this guy would get off the stage. I mean, he's really been carrying on for quite a while, and I don't blame you one bit. Tell you the truth. But just to answer this question real quick here, just to say that in fact, the thoughts just come. I mean, even when a priest is serving Divine Liturgy, I've been serving Divine Liturgy right in the middle of anaphor, whatever, and all of a sudden a thought will come into my head. Not a good thought, and I have to I'm swatting it away, get away, I cry, make the sign of the cross, because I have to keep going. And usually when that happens, I lose my place and have to backtrack and get restarted, cross myself and hope God won't be offended. And but I'm saying that it goes, but if you react to it in a bad way, that's unholy. So what's the way to react to that thought that comes in? Let it pass through you. Don't look at it. Don't analyze it. It's a bullet that's being shot to see if you'll try to get in front of it instead of something that you wouldn't want to get in front of. So then you say you bit the bullet, so to speak, you actually accepted it. Then, it becomes that passion then really arouses in you, and you go from more passive to actively trying to pursue it. And so the way that people in the world, doing it in the world, we're all in the world, but the way that it happens a lot, and this is one of the things that I haven't really said directly, but thoughts like lustful thoughts in particular can really lead you to watching pornography. And if I was going to tell you that there's an addiction out there that's consuming young people today, it's pornography. Because pornography, especially young men, and pornography becomes a part of their pattern of thinking. And it leads them to think about women in a way that's unnatural and not holy and not good. And even about themselves. And so once it becomes the point where it's practice in pornography, then you're in the cycle, and it just continues to rotate like a rat on in a wheel. It just keeps going and going and going, and you try to get that person in so many different ways to stop, to get off the wheel, so to speak, and it's very difficult, because they've been taught this way from the time they were like 10 years old. Those first sex ed classes they offered at your high school, at your local school, and things that they've picked up from friends in the neighborhood. But you can counteract those things if you are willing to fight a good fight. Is that clear? Okay. Anybody else have something? Yes.
Thank you, Father John. You've spoken a lot today about how we can approach the spiritual battle of thoughts. And frankly, it can seem a little overwhelming for someone who's new to Orthodoxy, or someone who's been Orthodox for a long time. I was going to ask if you could say a few words to the benefit of the spiritual father in this battle.
Well, I think that the spiritual father, one, has to be interested in the young people that are coming his way and who have these problems. And like everything, everybody needs to have a spiritual father of some kind or another. That's Orthodox priest, can happen. It could be a monastic. It could be a lot of different, it could be some different people. But spiritual father in a parish life is very important. And so people have, for one, the spiritual father has to be willing to not have any judgments that are brought to him, to not be grossed out by what he may hear, because it's his job to help transform and to elevate and to raise up. So I would say that anybody that's a young person here that's Orthodox, in particular, find a spiritual father, even if you're not plagued by the sin of pornography yourself. Guarantee you that somebody in your parish is, and somebody in your parish has a problem with it, just like alcohol or just like heroin or anything. It can be anything. But yes, the spiritual father is very important, and you have to be. It's a long process to overcome sin. I was thinking of how Moses the Ethiopian, Moses the Black, he had a hard time with lust himself. He struggled with it. He was so serious about it, he would put bags of sand on his back and walk around the fire saying the Jesus prayer all night long. And he did that for a long time. And guess what? Nothing changed. He kept waking up with the same problem. And then he went to his elder and said, why? I'm trying so hard to get past this. He said, okay, come on Saturday, come to confession, receive Holy Communion on Sunday. That's all you need. So St. Moses, he did what he was told, and it worked. It worked. And so he came to the elder and said, well, why did it work now? He said, because God was waiting for you to tire out of your own efforts and own things. God was waiting for you to wait and accept his blessing. I had a sermon today, and I kept, and it was Jesus walking on the water. And one of the things one of the phrases that came, that's in the scripture, when Peter says, I won't believe it unless I come out to you, and paraphrasing. And he said, come, I'm here, come. And that's what he's saying to all of us, by the way. He's saying, come and participate with me. Come and be my disciple. Come and be my apostle. You see, there are more things to do with your life than sitting around looking at weird stuff on TV that's unreal. It's unreal. It's just totally a lie. And it's a lie about the work that we have. It just shows how much work we have to do. All of us. We have to fight. Get down on our hands and knees and fight against the evil one who wants to devour us and take us down to hell alive. We have to fight. We cannot wait for something. But we have to fight at the same time, trust God. Trust him with everything you have. I was thinking about St. Seraphim of Seraph, but I was thinking mostly about Jesus Christ. And as a man in the world, what did he do? He aligned himself with the will of God, and he obeyed everything, every commandment, everything God gave him to do as a man. And he showed us the way to salvation. So, if you are struggling, brothers and sisters, whoever is struggling here, if you have trouble with addictions of any kind, please find a pastor, a priest, who can help guide you. Maybe even you'll find a therapist as well if you need that. But find a priest. Find someone who can offer you the sacramental life. Because if you just excommunicate everybody because they sin, then they're not going to get the goods. But if you can help that person come to Holy Communion and to partake of his body and blood, and come to the unction service and be healed in soul and body, and to be healed of all his or her sins, you see, there's hope for everyone, and there's hope in Jesus Christ. And so that's how we want to live our life. I only believe in a hopeful God. What did he say to the man who's? He said, "Do you believe?" He says, "I believe. Help thou my unbelief." And so I'm sure all of us have had our moments, but I believe, Lord, help thou my unbelief. That is an earnest prayer, and that's for all of us to sort of embrace. Anyway, I went on beyond it. I'm sorry. All right, Mother, is that too much? Anyway. All right, thank you all for having me.
Thank you very much. Okay, everybody, you probably know the drill.